Hello and welcome to IRL F2 here for Japan in Season 10. I have just been joined by Lordy, which is very good timing. I was just getting a tweet ready there, which is why it's a little bit later. But not too late, of course, 9 minutes left. So, of course, I'm joined by Lordy. Today's Japan, plenty of overtaking opportunities. It should be a good race.
Oh yeah, it looks very close already. Just coming in from having a bit of a complication on my end anyway. But I'm just watching the Haas of Sassy Pickle go around. I'm pretty sure he's on a fast lap. He's currently pole at the moment with a 26.1, and he does look to be going flat out through the hairpin. Let's just see if he can nail this short shifting up to third gear. Yep, to get the maximum out of the traction zones, and then down now into the spoon corner. You know, very tricky corner. You want to go quite fast in on entry. Mid-speed through the middle part, but it looks like he's invalidated there. Really cut the corner. I don't know if he got away with that or not.
No, he didn't. It was way too much of a cut. Very awkward line as well. Just turned in way too early than you should be doing for Spoon, and he's not going to be able to improve on his time, of course. 26.1 at the moment, though. It's a very quick lap time, so he should be happy early on as well. Actually, there's Antonio Moretti showing his pace in the Red Bull, and he's gone with the 26.0.
Yeah, crazy lap times coming in now, thick and fast from everybody here. I don't have the privilege of racing in IRL around Japan. I wasn't available yesterday during the F1 race, so I've not got some experience. I have some FP experience around here, but I'm not too sure what the equal time should be looking like. Tom Jewell up there though, on his outlap at the moment in P3, so I'm going to be on keep an eye on him, see if he can improve his lap time. But anybody else, Kevin, on the lap that's going fast?
It looks like Louis Quinlan just finished up a lap, but he unfortunately did not improve or something along those lines. Regardless, he's going to be on his in lap now. Adam Corrigan's on in the pits. There's Adrian Lynn, he's not on the lap. Actually, there's Alan Wagner in the McLaren. Of course, McLaren last week out from their win took the constructors lead as well. He is currently 9th. He'll be looking for an improvement. Marcel has just crossed the line to go 6th, so Red Bull looking not too bad with 1-6 being very much in the top 10. But we'll see now how Alan Wagner can do, as it looks at not the best lap. It looks a little not too happy on the rear end there, but it is actually a 26.4, so not too bad of a lap from the McLaren driver, and it's going to put him P3 at the moment, just ahead of Jared Fosbury. And actually, Jared Fosbury and Tom Jewell, I've just realised, I think Jared Fosbury said that pretty recently. There's only 5 thousandths between those two.
Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy scenes here in Japan, but it looks like Sassy just has the edge over some of these drivers here, and obviously the Red Bull in first as well. Really showing their pedigree there, going first and second with a 0.0 and a 0.1. So really just a step above the rest. So if anybody can get close to these guys, hopefully...
Tom Jewell, I've just actually caught that. He is just going out, I'm not sure what corner lane that is, but he was approaching the finish of Sector 1, going out of the almost, well, it should be flat at least, left-hander at the end of Sector 1, and he has gone round, most likely getting up on the curb, so that is the end of that lap for the AlphaTauri driver. He was certainly looking for an improvement, I'm sure, on a 26.4. A tiny improvement would have got him at least 4th, maybe 3rd, so yeah, that's going to be unfortunate for him, and he's going to be looking for one more lap at the end of this qualifying session.
The people to be on board with now is Paco and Kieran. Kieran currently 12th position, and Paco currently 13th. They are both out laps. I believe Paco will be the first driver to start, so I might take you on board with a lap round here, Japan, just to give everybody a bit of a taste of the Japanese circuit. You know, high revs, high gears, high speed going into turn 1. You don't really want to turn too much for turn 1. You kind of want to drift into turn 2, shifting down to 4th, then into 5th for traction. Then you come into the S section. 5th, 6th and 7th gear occasionally for traction is what you really want around here, shifting down into 4th as you approach the end, as you undulate up the hill to complete the first sector, staying to the left hand side of the track to try and get the Degner 1 right. It's okay from Paco, it's very committed, and Degner 2 very smooth and nice from Paco there. He's got a few back markers bit on the racing line, needs to get out of the way a bit better there as Paco approaches the hairpin, shifting all the way down to first, then short shifting to allow the traction and the revs to counter as he goes up through to Spoon corner now. 8th gear, nearly 200 mile an hour as you approach the braking marker board. A bit hesitant going in, I think a lack of rear grip from Paco there, but shifting down to 4th and up to 5th, gradually increasing the RPM in the gears as he approaches 130R, the famous 130R where Fernando Alonso went around the outside of Michael Schumacher. It's mentioned so many times, but obviously in these cars it's not really a corner, let's be honest with you. High speed, don't even need to shift down or lift. And then into the chicane, 2nd gear, 3rd just to get the traction, and then 4th just to get the traction as well. But Paco, unfortunately, doesn't want to complete the lap, so maybe starting outside the top 10.
Yes, certainly maybe looking forward. Of course, his first lap was on the mediums. He's on a 27.4 on those mediums, and, well, yeah, maybe he wants to be outside of the top 10, start on mediums and go softs. Maybe he's thinking about safety cars a little bit as well, helping him out at the right times. Of course, if it's an early safety car, it'll help the softs more so it's a bit of a balancing act, but maybe he thinks that it'll be a bit better times for him. As I do see Adrian Villarreal, he's on an outlap at the moment. He's of course 2nd, so he's certainly going to be someone we'd want to be having an eye on. His teammate is he's retired. Okay. I don't know why. Well,
I'm not too sure.
He thought he wasn't going to get back round, so that's why he retired. Luckily for
he's crashed out.
No,
in the middle, in the first sector.
No,
up to the right.
No, I was on board with him. He definitely retired on track.
Oh, okay.
So no crash there anyway. And it looked like he was watching because none of the cars actually got anywhere close to him. So.
Well, not helpful for the drivers on laps at the moment. Obviously, the Mercedes in 6th place coming into the hairpin now. Choosing to stay in 2nd gear, he's going to lose a bit of time there, just on traction alone. So about a 1/10 of a second loss if you don't double up chip.
Yeah, I'm just watching Adrian Villarreal. He's purple in Sector 1. He's improved by about half a tenth. Half a tenth is not going to be quite enough to be able to put it on pole ahead of Antonio Moretti as he goes through the hairpin. A tiny bit of a lock up there, but I don't think it's going to affect him too much. If anything, help him get through the corner as he's going to be approaching Spoon now. Of course, he needs a little over a 10th improvement, so we're going to see how much he's going to be up in Sector 2 as he exits the Spoon corner quite nicely as he gets right up to the left to try and maximise that lap time, trying to find every little bit of time as well. There you go, he's 2 tenths, almost 2.5 tenths up on his time, and he still has the final chicane to go. It was a little bit of a lock-up, but I don't think that was a real lock-up, as sometimes they can be just Codemasters lock-ups as he comes through the final corner, and it is going to be pole of the 25.9. First one to get into the 25 is a very, very strong lap from Adrian. Of course, he's also leading the championship. You'd expect it from him.
Yeah, a big statement there from Adrian, going to the top of the timing sheets there. Only driver in the 25, as you have mentioned. Tim is coming on a lap now, going through into 130 yards. Currently sitting P15 on 27.4, needs a lot more pace if he wants to even be in the top 10. Does Tim. But here he is now. It's been a very clean lap from what I've seen on board. Has he got the pace, though, to put his car even in the top 5? It's been a very, very nice and smooth lap from Tim, but sometimes you need to be a bit aggressive on these curves. It can be tricky here at Suzuka, but Tim doesn't go close to the pit wall either, but will cross the line and doesn't improve at all. So maybe he backed out of his lap and will be going now on a second lap on a set of soft tyres, but that's going to be very, very interesting, which it looks like he is doing. So is there anybody else out there that is finishing their lap?
I know Andy Crow. No, he's not. He's on an outlap.
Sean in the Williams, maybe, coming to the chicane?
Yeah, he is coming to the chicane. He's got a little bit of traffic in the Ferrari just up ahead, but it's a little bit too far for it to matter for his lap, as he's currently 11th. He's going to put himself in the top 10 shortly as he does into 9th, and that is going to be his qualifying session over, as of course everyone setting their final times is now. Marcel is actually going to go into the pits. Maybe he's hoping that a few people are going to beat him and put him outside of the top 10 so he can get that alternate strategy. Adam Corrigan is actually invalidated, so he's going to be staying 10th and certainly hoping he'll get dropped down into the bottom half of the grid, at least, as Now Adrian Lennon is going to come through as there's a little bit of traffic there, but it's not going to affect him too much, as I think there was an improvement there. Yeah, Jared Fosbury setting a 26.2 now, so he improves his lap time. Antonio Moretti improves a little bit there as well, I think, but he wasn't able to do it, just not enough, as there's about a tenth between the top two, so it looks like Adrian might have this, unless someone like Tom Jewell might have something up his sleeve, as he's going to be coming across the line. Can he do anything? No, he can't, as he's going to have to stick behind. Can Alan Wagner in the McLaren do anything? He beats Jared Fosbury to third place, is a 26.1, but it's not enough to get pole, as it's very much looking... Well, actually, Kieran Spears is... No, he's going to cross the line. He can't do anything. Paco Suarez now is going to cross the line. He's finished for today. No improvement for him, as Andy Crow is certainly finished. He's going into the pit lane. So it is going to be Adrian Villarreal to take another pole position here in Japan. Antonio Moretti showing the pace that he knows that he has. Of course, he's DNF'd quite a few times. He got his first points only last week. Really, if you looked at pre-season, you'd be expecting a lot more from this guy, but a little bit of bad luck, maybe a little bit of putting himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he's put himself in a good position today, and he'll be hoping he can convert it at least into a podium.
Yeah, I said earlier, big statement from that man on pole, and the only man to get into the 25s. It does say a lot about his championship hopes, and it shows that he is committed to winning this title this season. If he can keep the performances up like this, you know, he's going to go on to great things and maybe even more race wins. And a bit disappointed from these guys that, as you can see from the timing, not that close here at Japan. It's normally quite a difficult track, but normally the lap times are a bit closer, but you know, the top 10 within 1 second of each other, but as you can see from the top 10 to top 5, there's a 5/10 of a second gap. So.
Go through it really quickly. Is of course Adrian on pole ahead of Antonio Moretti and Alan Wagner in third, then Jared Fosbury, Tom Jewell, Louis Quinlan, Jose Marcel, Adrian Lennon, and Sean, and then the other Sean and the Williams, and well, nowhere close. Got to top 11.
It's alright, I can't get all the names on the team sheet, on the grid. Really, I've been playing too much Pro Clubs recently. On the grid, can't get all the names done within 30 seconds or whatever time you have, but the full grid, which is interesting for Suzuka as well. Not a track you can overtake. Normally turn 1, it's a tricky corner to overtake, but normally turn 1 and I'd say the chicane at the last sector, just because you get such a good slipstream through 130R. Obviously it's flat out even with dirty air through 130R. Probably prime to overtaking manoeuvres. Maybe the hairpin in the second sector as well. But you know, it's a tight circuit with these big cars, and they've got so much downforce. You know, it's really hard to get around these new modern vehicles. But top 3. Any predictions from you, Kevin? Who do you think?
I am going to put faith in Antonio. Of course, he hasn't had the best start of the season. If it was different, he certainly could easily be second or leading the championship if things were a little different for him. Like, he certainly has the pace to be up there, and he's put it, of course, on the second row of the grid. Just couldn't get pole, but I think he was certainly capable of it. I'm going to put him down for the win, with Adrian in second. As for third, I mean, there's a lot of options. It's a full grid, of course, as well. Anything can happen. I am going to go with Jared Fosbury, because he's got a podium in every single race so far, so he's kind of a safe bet to put on a podium. So that's who I'm going to put on third.
I'm going to go for an outside bet. I think I'm going to go... This is out of the blue. People are going to be laughing at me. I'm going to say the man on pole is going to keep the win. Big boy Sassy. I think he's got it. I don't know why. I just think he's made a statement in qualifying, and I think he's got it. I think second's going to be Tom Jewell. I'm going to outside pick there, Tom Jewell. And I think the alternate strategy is really going to come into play here. And I think Adam down in 11th, or Gravity, as people can see on the screen, I think he's going to nick a podium, you know. don't know why. It's got these inkling feelings inside of me that these guys are going to pull it. I think Jared's going to crash out because he's a Hamilton fan, and we had a discussion earlier, so he's going to die. I'm joking, but no, just them three for me. I really think that the alternate strategy around here is very, very good. So I think there is going to be a few drivers in the mix, but I'm going to give it Adam just because he's the highest placed. I imagine he's running the alternate strategy if I just check the tyres now.
Actually, he isn't. As I see it, Sean is in 10th. He is on the alternate strat. Adam Corrigan in 11th, starting on softs. Very interestingly.
I'll give it Adam
Same
anyway.
with Chris Rutt, actually. Outside of the top 10 as well.
Well, I'm going to watch Paco and Tim around that area just to see if there's any stragglers at the back of the grid causing any incidents as people are getting disqualified left, right and centre. Not what you want to see on a formation, not when you have to keep them mediums up. And I'll let you take away the start of the Japanese Grand Prix, Kevin.
As, of course, everyone gets lined up for the start. If you remember from last week, Jared Fosbury's only 6 points behind in the championship. He's starting 4th place, so he's going to need a good result today. As we have 5 red lights for the Japanese Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go, and it looks like Jared Fosbury has actually got a dream start as he goes up into 2nd place, approaching turn 1 as he's going to slot in behind Adrian Villarreal. The Red Bull drops down to 3rd, as you can see Louis Quinlan actually making his way up into 4th. Alan Wagner having a very poor start as he's down to 4th place. He's still going side by side with the Mercedes though, trying to keep it in as there's yellow flags in sector 1 as well. Tim is actually out of this race safety car.
Oh my god, I can't believe what I've seen. Paco and Tim going neck and neck into the S section, and it looked like there was contact made in the corner. Paco completely loses the car and shunts Tim into the barrier. So definitely going to be investigations looked at by the stewards with that incident. Not really too sure who to blame. It is lap 1, it can be chaos. Everybody made it through turn 1 and 2 quite cleanly. I thought everybody's going to be fine as we see a 5-second penalty for Crowman down in 13th place. But wow, crazy scenes as the safety car has saved Paco's race but has ended Tim's.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Well, I did not catch any bit of what happened behind. I was trying to see what was happening with the Mercedes and McLaren going for what was 4th places. Now on Wagner, he started in 3rd. He's dropped down to 5th, so it's really a poor start. But I have to say though, Jared Fosbury got a perfect start off the line and jumping both the Red Bull and the McLaren into turn 1. Before turn 1 he had both of the moves done, and now he is behind really his championship rival. If you were looking earlier in the championship, you wouldn't really think Jared Fosbury may be an outsider, but he's very much here. He's only 6 points behind, and if he wins this race he'll take the championship lead as well. So he's really doing what he has to right now.
Yeah, obviously I saw the start from the back of the grid, so you've caught all the action at the front, but it's just careless driving from some drivers. I think you've got to be cautious on lap 1. You're not going to win the race on lap 1. It's not like real F1 when you do win the race on lap 1 in real circumstances. You've got to be patient, you've got to be careful, and whoever's at fault will find out obviously later on during the evening when the stewards have a look at it. But it's just silly going side by side into the S section. You know, both drivers need to take a bit of responsibility and just look at themselves. But unfortunately for Tim, there ain't no recovery from this. He is out permanently from this Grand Prix. Paco has had a bit of a lifeline. He's got a new set of medium tyres on and a fresh front wing. He will rejoin the back of the grid and hopefully rebuild his race. He only lost 2 positions or 3 anyway, so he's not really lost too much. He's probably gained actually a fresher set of mediums, so very, very interesting. I think a Mercedes is pit for a fresh set of mediums as well, down in 18th.
Yeah, just gonna get up how many stops to see. So yeah, that's Louis Quinlan. Of course, he did have a start that put him up into 4th place, just ahead of the McLaren. But obviously, he thinks that going on a set of mediums now is going to be better for him in the long run. Of course, he's now down in 18th. It's a lot further down than 4th on a track that is besides what you would think, it's not very easy to overtake around here. And, well, 18th, I don't know if that was the right call, but he obviously thinks it was the right call. Maybe if he had damage it would be a little more justified, but...
well, I did a similar thing in FP. Well, obviously not same circumstances, but I relegated myself to the back of the field to try and see how much quicker I would be. But he's got to think to himself, the pace deficit between the front of the grid and the back of the grid is, I think, over 2 seconds it was in qualifying. So that means, you know, as I believe Meme is in the pit lane.
Sean O'Sullivan and Paco Soares again.
Yeah, so I'm not really too sure. Maybe hards to the end of the race. That's what I was going to just suggest. Hards to the end of the race could be a viable strategy.
Ongoing set of mediums for Paco, though.
Very interesting. I'm not too sure what Paco's
and Sean O'Sullivan also putting on a set of mediums.
People seem to think mediums is the way to go. I think hards from this stage of the race, with the safety car coming in as late as it is a viable option. Hards to the end of the race, especially with the pace of the grid. You know, you're going to be on the slowest tyre around people slower than you as well, so you're going to kind of balance each other out, and you're not going to be held up during the race, and you can kind of pick off any stragglers who make mistakes and stuff. So on the mediums it's going to be difficult though, because he is there down in 17th place, and he's going to have to fight these guys to get past them on an, you know, and he is a quicker driver than these guys. You know, qualifying is well, around here anyway, you know, qualifying has taught us that, so it's going to be very difficult for the Mercedes to try and make the strategy work, because the guys at the front are going to bolt.
Yeah, and of course last week out in the interviews as well, he was mentioning that he was committed to going for a championship. Of course, he got his, I think it was his first podium last week in getting a third. He led most of the race in Baku last week as well, so he certainly had a pace or a pace like a increase recently, maybe, or something along the lines. So yeah, you would expect him to be capable of it at least, but when you're 17th and you could be 4th right now, it's still a massive difference.
Yeah, he's basically put his race in other people's hands, and that's not what you want in Formula 1. You want to have every control, you want to have
safety car in this lap actually now, so it's going to be up to Adrian as he slows down Jared Fosbury right behind him. The two first and second in the championship, the same order in this race. Of course, Adrian in for 6 points ahead. So we're going to see now when Adrian decides to go, as he's taking it nice and slow as he goes through the final corner, and he's going to continue that potentially all the way down to the line. He's still weaving those tyres, so he's going to be going very late, I would assume, as Antonio Moretti certainly going to try and get in the mixes. Now he's gone. Jared Fosbury is going to be up behind him in the slipstream, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to be making a move, as the McLaren Alan Wagner now is trying to retake what he lost earlier in this Grand Prix, but he's not able to do it, as he's going to have to stick for 4th place. So Antonio Moretti going to retain that P3, so Adrian Villarreal is going to still lead them way ahead of Jared Fosbury, Antonio Moretti, Alan Wagner and Tom Jewell in 5th.
Yeah, crazy scenes going down the grid as Kieran's going to make a move on Sean through the S section. That is a brilliant move for 9th place. The McLaren, what a fantastic move on the Williams up the inside, and then just beautiful around the outside, undulating up the hill as well, just to get the traction and more power down on Sean, and makes up a place on the medium tyre. So he is now the highest medium runner in this race.
Yeah, and actually it looks like the Racing Point might be looking for a move up the inside of the hairpin, and he is actually going to send it down the inside. This is softs versus mediums as well, but he's not able to do it quite yet, and he's going to have to stick behind Sean for a little bit more. Chris Rudd trying to go for the move, but just couldn't do it.
Oh my, I've just seen Paco take 2 people on the straight to Spoon, so it's crazy as we see contact between 2 drivers. 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, sorry, so they've both gone off the track. But Paco making up 2 positions before Spoon even started. He's got to be careful on his energy recovery, as Sean looks like he's having issues going into 130R, and the side-by-side as well, Rutty and Crowman, and Rutty goes right on the outside of 130R. I think that's to maintain position in 11th, so I'm not too sure what's going on, as there's been an incident, I think, as well. Yes, Riceman is off. He's down through the chicane over the gravel, and he's going to have to rejoin now.
And here
in 18th
comes the Ferrari once again. Andy Crow trying to be on the inside. This is of course 411s, but they're battling quite hard for it. Of course, Andy Crow on those mediums is going to be looking to be ahead of any soft runner he can, and he's going to be ahead of this soft runner, at least for now, is Chris Rudd. It seems like he's kind of struggling. He's able to go for a move, but if it doesn't work, then he seems to lose a position soon after, as he's lost 2 positions on the last lap now.
Yeah, crazy. Also, Louis, last. He's had an incident as we see yellow flags in Sector 1 again. I don't know what's happened. Someone is
That's
off.
Thiago there. Thiago Silva, I think. Yeah, it is.
He's been
No
collected,
wing damage for him, luckily. As there you can see in the background the other Mercedes of Reese March. As I can't actually see his name, but that is Reese March in that Mercedes. There's 2 Mercedes actually. If you remember, they had a third and fourth.
It's 3 wide going into Spoon. Oh my god, crazy scenes for 14th place. How the hell did Paco get through there? That is amazing driving. Paco again, 2 drivers going into the start of Spoon for Paco Suarez as he maintains 12th position. But that was crazy driving, and there's going to be more action.
Yeah, I
think he's going to have to defend from the Ferrari.
Yeah, Kieran Spears as well, the McLaren, getting ahead of Adam Corrigan for 8th place, so there seems to be overtakes everywhere. Of course, I said at the start of this race that it's a little difficult to overtake. Clearly, these guys have thrown that out the window. They're overtaking everywhere and anywhere. At the moment, is really the top guys aren't doing quite as much, but like for the lower positions, they're really going hammer and tongue for these positions. They're not giving an inch that they don't have to give, and they absolutely don't have to, and it's brilliant.
Honestly, it's a shame I'm not streaming this race because the things that I've seen during this Grand Prix are magnificent. I've just seen 3 drivers go into the same apex at the first corner of the chicane. Obviously, no way 2 cars can fit through there. You can barely fit 1 car through there. It's Rutti's gone off, and Rutti's in the wall, and that's massive damage to the Rutti there in the racing point as he skids off onto the curb, and that is him out of the race if there's no safety car. Unfortunately
and
for him,
Paco
it's just more
Suarez,
action.
I think, just made a move on Andy Crow for 11th as well, potentially before even the hairpin, because he was going in ahead, so he must have made that move probably in Degner 2 somehow, or maybe they're going side by side. I'm not sure. Maybe Andy Crow made some sort of mistake, but Paco Suarez making up another place now, as he was last after the safety car restart. He's in 11th now. He's passed almost half the grid. Doing an amazing job.
Scenes, absolutely crazy scenes, and you can see the soft tyres already looking worse for wear for some of these guys. As you can see, Kieran and Sean, obviously Sean getting mugged by Kieran early in the race, but still got some very, very good pace on them mediums. He keeps it in 4th gear for the chicane. He doesn't shift down at all, which is a very, very interesting strategy. That's going to wreck your gearbox. I'm not really too sure why he does that, but if it's beneficial for him, I guess it's beneficial for him. But Kieran's looking very, very mighty down there in 8th place on the back of the soft runners now, and that is the leading pack of soft runners. But look out in front. Jared has fallen off as this yellow flags again.
Another
and
safety car.
Retired.
That's Chris Rudd out. Where is he retired? That's
end of the
final
chicane,
corner.
final corner. Yeah,
That's actually the same place Sandra did it yesterday.
Oh, don't hit the safety
sure.
car! Oh my god! Sorry, I've had to interrupt you again, Kevin, because Reese March has nearly ploughed into the safety car going into turn 2, and he's had to take evasive action, and it looks like he's been given a penalty for exceeding track limits. So, really, you don't know what's going on here at Japan.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Sondre crashed yesterday in F1 in the same spot. I wasn't sure how he did it, but now Reese... Well, no, sorry, that was Chris Rudd, I should say, doing the same thing, so obviously it's possible. Maybe it kind of justifies what Sandra did yesterday, but I mean, it's an interesting way to crash, especially when it looks like from what I could tell, he was kind of on his own after having some complications with the Mercedes maybe or something or other. But yeah, he's out of the race now, and we have another safety car. Of course, once again, it's going to be Adrian Villarreal to lead them away. His 2-second gap back to Jared Fosbury, so he's clearly got the pace over Jared, but Jared another chance maybe to try and make this move going into turn 1. Is actually Jared Fosbury in the pits. Well, all the top guys in the pits, and really thinking about it, you should expect that there's a little bit of damage there to the Red Bull, and I think the McLaren as well. Just before they got into pits, they are going to be able to get their front wing changes, as the Red Bull's double stack Marcel is going to be held up a lot, as there you go, the McLaren as well getting a new wing, as he's going to get held up a little bit from the other Red Bull getting out of the pits. It's very, very busy pit lane. All the soft runners and some of the medium runners even pitting. Pretty much the entire grid is in the pits right now, as we'll see how it all funnels through. Paco Suarez is going to take P2. Kieran Spears also staying out, so some of the medium runners thinking their strategies are going to be better. Most people opting for the hards, though, most likely going to the end. So it's going to be interesting to see most of the grid being on hards. It would actually go in the medium runners' hands.
Yeah, look who's in third place, by the way. Staying out during the safety car period. He had an absolutely horrendous first safety car. Obviously, like I say, caught down there with the slower guys. It really does hinder your chances, getting caught up in all sorts of incidents. But he hasn't got any damage, and he has the freshest mediums of anyone who's stayed out. So Louis in the Mercedes really looking to fight these guys. Paco has been on an immense charge, though. From last on the grid, it's been an absolute... I don't even know. He had contact with Tim at the start of the race, but ever since then, he's been a man on fire. And now he's in second position, and I think it's very intelligent from these guys to stay out on the medium tyres. I think the guys who are pitted for hards, I can see them going to the end, and I think that's a very, very clever strategy. Tom Jewell will be leading that pack, so that's very, very good for his race. But I don't see why you'd pit for mediums. I'm not really getting the logic there. And if you can enlighten me, Kevin, with that, what you may think they're doing.
Yeah, no, the only way I can really think is kind of like a counter-intuitive thinking of it, like an opposite thinking. Not a backwards thinking, but an opposite, like... if you think that most of the grid would be on hards, if you think, okay, I'll do the opposite of what I think most of the grid will do, which is what happened, then those medium runners are going to be able to pull away from the hards, and by the time they pit, then they should have made up a decent amount of ground to begin with, and once they pit, then their tyres will be that much better that they should be able to make the moves pretty easily, I think is the thinking there. And since they're mostly at the front, I think most of the front runners kind of had the same thinking, or at least some people staying out to be a front runner. But yeah, I think that's the thinking of it, that they'll gain enough that by the time they do their pit stop, they'll be able to gain that time back easier.
Yeah, they've just got to think as well that they've got people ahead on mediums, obviously a lot worn mediums, and when their tyres start to wear off, they are going to be holding these guys up at some point. So, like you say, it all depends if these guys can get away. If these guys can bolt at the front and get away from Tom in the first hard run, if they can get away from Tom very easily, but it's got to be at least a second a lap. You've got to be a second a lap faster than these guys on the hards, even to make up the pit stop deficit. But I can see some of these guys trying to go to the end of the race on a set of mediums, but you know, I think you'd pit around like 9 or 10 for a set of hards to go to the end of the race. So I'm really unsure what these guys are trying to do, but it's going to make an interesting Japanese Grand Prix. We've had 2 safety cars already, we've had incidents left, right and centre, and we've had triple overtakes going into Spoon, into the chicane and into turn 1. So it's been a thrilling race so far, and we're only on lap 9.
Yeah, of course, that's the thing, like 2 safety cars, well timed really. They kind of go hand in hand to set this up, that we have people on the mediums, we have people on the hards, kind of using both strategies in a decent mix, that it's the front runners going for the mediums. Interestingly, Adam Corrigan also going on the mediums. I also told him, he asked me what would be a good Japan strategy, and I said a soft medium would be the strategy you want to go for. And then he asked me how long would the hards go, I think, or something along those lines, and I told him that they could go from lap 6 roughly with a safety car, maybe earlier. He's on the mediums anyway, so maybe he's kind of thinking the same as the front guys, but he's got some overtakes to do.
About to get underway. I don't know if you want to take us through it as Kieran.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice, but Kieran Spears is going to be leading the grid away. Of course, Jared Fosbury, no, that's not Jared Fosbury, it's actually Paco Suarez, his teammate behind the McLaren. It's kind of like a bit of a flip from what we saw earlier. Of course, there is a Renault and McLaren up there, but it's not Alan Wanger and it's not Jared Fosbury, it's the other 2 teammates, so it's kind of like been flipped on its head a little bit as they're going to funnel through the first few corners of Sector 1, the twisty sections of Sector 1. Not many people making any significant ground, as Jared Fosbury was not able to get past Adrian Villarreal. Most people staying kind of single file for now, what I'm sure that's going to be changing by the time we get to corners like 130R, or maybe turn 1 as well, certainly overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, just a crash there for Reece March again. That man's been off the track more than he's been on the track this afternoon. I think a retirement in the pit lane is what he needs at this point. He's had 2 safety cars and he's still off the track, so I think it's a retirement necessary for that man there. Really not a good afternoon for him. But yeah, just looking at the Haas, the pace that he's got, he's having to lift in some corners because he's getting so close to the back of Louis in third, because his mediums are just so much more fresh and he's just got so much pace in that Haas. I never thought I'd say that in my lifetime, a fast Haas. What's going on? But he is really, really putting the pressure on third place at the moment, and it's inevitable. I think as soon as DRS comes round, he's going to be past that Mercedes and hopefully get past the Renault and the McLaren ahead as well.
Yeah, and that's certainly what he's going to be looking for as well. Jared Fosbury not really breathing down his neck anymore, as he's actually pulled a 1 second gap, which I'm not sure how when it's like Adrian is following cars on older tyres. Jared Fosbury is one of the ones on the fresher mediums, but he has kind of just lost that time. It's interesting, but it's what happened. So those guys at the top maybe pushing a little bit more to try and keep ahead of these, well, fresher medium runners, if you want to put it like that. Tom Jewell has stuck at the back of Adrian though, and that's Adrian Lennon, I should say, in the Racing Point. Of course, he is the final man on mediums, well, the final man in the train for mediums. There is another 2 medium runners down the grid, but Tom Jewell is sticking with him, and it's what he needs to do right now. He doesn't need to make this overtake. I'm sure if it arises, he'll do it, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to stick behind and keep this pace up, maybe with a little bit of slipstream and DRS assistance as well, to help him stick with this train, and then his race will kind of fall into his hands later on as a result.
I've been very impressed with Tom and them hards. I think if he keeps this pace up, he's definitely on for a race win. If these guys pit, he's very, very impressive from him so far. Also, man to keep an eye out, the guy in 11th place, Adam. He's really, really hounding these guys in the hards now, and it's just a matter of time before Wagner really does feel his wrath. So hopefully he can get him done down into turn 1. If he can get a good exit through the chicane, as DRS is enabled. They won't get it obviously on this straight, they will get it on the next one, but Wagner just placing this car in a very good place, and Adam doesn't look like he's prepared to go for it yet. So how long will it be until these hard runners, you know, start pushing and getting over and getting the overtakes done on the medium runners? Because these mediums aren't going to last the whole race. I can't see it myself.
Yeah, that's the thing with this track generally. Like, if the person ahead of you has DRS and has slipstream, it doesn't really matter what tyre you're on, almost, as I experienced very much last season actually. In a Japan race, I had pit for the lead because of a safety car, and I thought the softs would be better. You just can't overtake. Like, when there's a train in front of you, it doesn't matter what tyre you're on, you just can't overtake. No matter what tyre advantage you think you have, it just doesn't help when the guys ahead have the slipstream and DRS advantage, because that's the advantage that matters more when you're in a train, especially around here. So it's just going to be very difficult, even being on the mediums. As you can see, the hard runners sticking with the mediums very much as well. The medium guys really not making too much ground. As even Adrian as well, you said that he had the pace, or seemingly had the pace. He can't make a move though, because there's guys ahead of Louis Quinlan, who Louis Quinlan is able to DRS and slipstream off of, and that's enough to stay ahead most of the time on this track.
Yeah, sorry, but Reece March is a hazard. I'm sorry, I don't normally do this to drivers because everyone is trying. He is crashing on purpose at this point. This is ridiculous from him. He's spun every single corner on every single lap nearly, and he keeps doing it, you know, full traction out of every corner and just spinning. Just retire, mate. Just look, he's spun again at the hairpin. I don't know what he's playing at the moment. So very, very disappointing to see that on the grid. You know, if you're having a bad race, just retire in the pit lane. You know, you don't have to, you know, bring yellow flags and safety cars out just to benefit your teammates. So anyway, yeah, carry on back to the action.
This is very clearly intentional. Anyway, I'm gonna stay on board for another second, because if he's caught, then once they get onto the straight, then I'll switch. But if I catch him and he does it on purpose, like,
It's a shame you're having to divert your attention to him, though. He doesn't deserve any airtime or screen time. But you know, dangerous driving does need to be reported. You know, as stewards, we need to, as commentators, sorry, we need to just monitor everything that goes on. But I'll keep on board with the action if you want to hold fire with him. As is he retired on the pit lane? No, he's retired on track and brought out a safety car. That is unbelievable. That is ridiculous.
And then, well. Ingo, were you on board with him there?
No, I wasn't. I was keeping an eye on the track map, and he decided to bin it in the wall on purpose. So I was just watching his dot.
Yeah. I think even from what we both saw before, I think that's enough to say that it was on purpose. So, yeah, that's not right at all.
Yeah, it's very, very annoying from us as commentators, and very annoying for the people in the race, because we had such a good race building up. Were the medium runners going to get to the end of the race? Were the hard runners going to have the advantage? You know, were the people going to? How long were the people going to stay out in front?
Yeah,
now he's ruined all of that.
Yeah,
so.
The biggest thing, the people on the older mediums, of course, are going to pit. There's no reason for them not to take this opportunity to pit. But there was also a concept of the guys in the older mediums. They would have to pit and kind of undercut the guys who were staying out in the fresher mediums, and then they would have to fight between themselves before they even got to hard runners. But that can't happen anymore.
Yeah, absolute clown. I don't really like ridiculing drivers on the grid, but when you're doing stuff like that, you deserve to be ridiculed. It's pathetic. Don't league race. Just quit, mate. Just retire from league racing. That's just awful to see, ruining everybody else's experience. You know, just retire. What's the point? Anyway, back to the racing, enough of him. Unfortunately, he has brought out a safety car, and hopefully it still makes us some interesting racing at the end of the race. Will the medium still go to the end? I imagine they will now, because they've had a few rest laps. But we're not too
tires.
sure. So.
Well, I mean, like, something certainly is very interesting. Soft tires for 3 of the 6 people who pit there. Going to the end? That's going to be a stretch.
Has to be. They have to go to the end. I don't see why you would put the soft tyres on, but they're going to have to go to the end.
Well, yeah, they have to go to now, but like mediums are surely a better option in this scenario.
I can only imagine the mediums are worn. I imagine Paco made 3 pit stops, didn't he, in the first safety car to try and get some medium tyres on. So whether he's worn the mediums out, I'm not too sure, but yeah, we'll have one more lap of safety car, everybody's with each other, and then we'll be back to racing again. Hopefully we'll see some nice clean overtakes, or even some aggressive overtakes, as long as it's, you know, a good overtake. I don't mind a bit of argy-bargy, you know, rubbing is racing, as people say, and you want to see some aggressive overtakes at a track like Japan, because it is very narrow. But just don't be silly. Don't be silly. Don't be over-ambitious or over-opportunistic. You know, pick a moment and go for it. But these drivers have provided a very interesting race so far, and hopefully they can continue. I'm still rooting for Tom. I think Tom at the end of the race will have the better tyres on the hards, and he has looked to have the pace on the Red Bull behind him as well. So Tom for the race win, maybe second place, because, you know, that man, Sassy Pickle, he's got a turbo-powered engine well, they've all got turbo-powered engines, but he's got an extra turbo in that car, because he's been lightning fast this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he really has. Of course, if you remember the last safety car restart that we had, well, there Adrian pulled almost a second to Jared Fosbury and even had cars ahead of him, and when there wasn't any cars ahead of him, the first safety car, he pulled like 2 seconds before there was a safety car again. So yeah, he's got a lot of pace over Jared Fosbury, and you'd be expecting him to be able to do it again. It's all depending really on his restart, and also how they're going to clear the kind of back markers, if you want to put it like that, later on, as you can see the green light on that safety car. So it is very much in this lap, or it should be in this lap. I'm pretty sure that's what that means, unless it is, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it should be right. Normally we see it as we approach 130R. Like I said, the grid is all stacked up now. Nobody needs to pit.
Yeah,
Nobody's
there you go.
Straggling
There's
behind,
the green light on.
and the safety car is in this lap.
There's in. As it should pop up on screen.
Yep.
Or maybe it didn't.
Surely.
Well, it didn't pop up on... Eh?
There
Okay, it is in this lap. It took a while, but it is in. And Adrian is of course, going to lead them away. The safety car is still quite close to them, but it's not going to affect them too much. As Tom Jewell, a 5-second penalty. He's hit into the back of Adrian Storm on the restart, and now Adrian Villarreal is going to lead them away. Is Jared Fosbury right at the back of him? The Racing Point right at the back of Jared Fosbury as well into turn 1. He's not going to be able to do anything as they follow. Very, very close. Adrian right up the back of Jared Fosbury's gearbox, but he's not going to be able to make any moves. Tom Jewell, of course, with a 5-second penalty now. I'm not sure if that's going to get removed later. I think maybe Adrian Lennon may have got also a penalty there. Yeah, they did both of them 5 seconds, so one of them certainly.
Oh, an intentional. He's just taken. I can't believe it. I'm going to have to say this video clip. Crowman has intentionally just rammed his car into the wall. Another driver who has had an incident and has intentionally just put it in the wall. I've got that all on video. I can happily send it to anybody. I can't believe it. What are these guys doing? He's just intentionally rammed it into the barrier. Hopefully it won't cause anything. He had a crash earlier in the race and spun around, as we see Meme getting overtaken by, I think, Kieran for 10th place there. And I saw a beautiful overtake for Adam going into turn 1 as well to claim 7th place. So he's looking very feisty on these mediums, as he does run wide, and probably will be a time penalty if he hasn't got any warnings. No, he's fine.
Yes, it's certainly like things should definitely be looked at after this race anyway. There was a few far more than questionable isn't even the word for it. It's not questionable. But regardless, Tom Jewell.
Paco's lost it! Oh my god, it's rammed right into the back of the Mercedes!
Tom Jewell and Adrian Lennon are going side by side. Or sorry, no. Yeah, it is. They're going side by side for what is P3 at the moment. The top two very much pulling away, but they're going to be side by side into turn 1. Tom Jewell is going to make this move, but actually Adrian going to try it back down the inside the Racing Point, trying to use the grip of those mediums. Medium's probably going off a little bit by now, and the hard runner of Tom Jewell is going to get ahead up into 3rd place now, and he is, remember, going to the end. The top two will maybe, if they stretch it, will be able to go close to the end, but it's going to be still very, very awkward because those safety cars would definitely help, but like it's very sketchy to do that, especially when Tom Jewell is right up behind you. When your tires go off, he's going to make those overtakes, so Tom Jewell very much in the hot seat.
There's a crash at the hairpin! Sorry again, I've got into it. The midfield's been crazy. Kieran tries to make a move up the inside of the Haas, going in, I think, for P9, and the Haas is clattered into Wagner. Wagner, or whatever you want to call him, in P8. So he's crashed into the McLaren and spun himself out of the race, and Kieran's made up another place on the softs as we see. Oh, Adam's off, someone else is in the wall.
That's Antonio Moretti is round out of Spoon there as well. He's got wing damage, and he's gonna certainly have to bring that to the pits. He was on the old hards. He was
Kieran
one of the ones maybe in the running.
He's got past his teammate Kevin. Oh my god, it's all kicking off. Oh, there's an accident! There's an accident. There's a Williams off. What's going on?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look at that again later on. But that's yeah. I agree with you. What is going on? I've no idea what is happening right now. Hopefully something sorts itself out, because I think some of this is personal at this point, and it's
and
it's
there's
not
another
in a good way.
question. Alfa Romeo's in the wall. Oh my god, the scenes here at Suzuka as Thiago bins it, and there's a
virtual
VSC.
safety car.
Oh my god, I've never seen anything like it. It's like Demolition Derby here at Japan. Thiago completely lost it on his own, coming out of the exit of turn 2, and had no traction and just ploughed it into the wall. That wasn't intentional at all. I can't believe what I've just seen. What happened to Meme? Did you see the Williams of Meme going into
in the final chicane, it looked like he was almost going to straight line it, but I can't really tell properly. I only got to see it for a very brief moment, so I'm not really sure if there was like a lead up to it that put him in that position or something, because I don't really see him as a dirty driver. But of course, like from what we've seen in this race, anything is possible, I guess. But yeah, I'm not really sure. A lot of it is going to be looked at later, I'm sure. But yeah.
Yeah, not too sure. Apparently people are using overtake down the straight, so I imagine it has gone green before we've had the green flag. Tom Jewell might be under pressure from the Racing Point behind. I'm not too sure if DRS will be enabled due to the VSC. It is enabled due to the VSC, so Tom might be under pressure going into turn 1, but looks a bit too far behind Adrian. so I don't think he will have a run. He's going for it though. He is going for it. That is a lot of overtake ERS used, and he's, oh my god, nearly run to the back of the AlphaTauri going into turn 2. But Tom keeps the position and looks to be on a charge for Jared Fosbury.
Yeah, he certainly looks to be as around now. I would say those mediums are going to be not really the best they've ever been. They can certainly go quite a while. They can go a good portion of the race, but the hards, like, they'll at least be equal at this point. So I don't think Tom will be losing. And of course, I mean, at this stage of the race, he's gaining, as we can see right now, 1.2 seconds now separate second and third. That is Jared Fosbury and Tom. It's kind of like a mediums versus hards now to the end. We'll see if Jared Fosbury and Adrian are going to try and use those, well, all of the life of those mediums that they possibly can to go to the end. Of course, it's lap 19 out of 27, so it looks like maybe they are going to try and take it to the end. Usually you would bring the softs about like 10 laps and then 17 on mediums, so it is possible, especially with the safety cars. I think it's just a case of will they be good enough at the end compared to Tom's hards.
Yeah, these medium runners have had God's grace this entire race, it has to be said, you know, with all these VSCs and safety cars. I've just got to watch the midfield again as Sean and Adam are approached by the soft. Adam's tried to have a go at Sean at the hairpin. He got very close going into Spoon as well, and he has got the pace. He's going to try and go for it into turn 1 maybe. He's looking up the inside. Is he scared, Sean? Look at this into turn 2 from Adam. What a move. He spooked Sean going into turn 1 and up the inside, and that's a fantastic move from Adam. Really, really nicely calculated, and he's up to P5 with Kieran looking to take that place as well through the S section.
Yeah, very, very, very calculated move. Very brilliant move from Adam Corrigan. I don't think there'd be many drivers who would have done the very same thing as he did, as he looked down the inside, maybe spooked Sean a little bit going into turn 1, and of course look where he is now. He's in 5th, Sean is in 6th, so yeah, he certainly did that very much perfectly, and yeah, just brilliance there.
Well, if he gets past the racing point, he's on for a podium, because Tom, you know, does have a 5 second. I know the racing point does have one as well, but obviously Tom hit the racing point during the safety car, so I imagine that will be removed if he reports it. So Adam, I did say he'd be on the podium, and look at him now. So, you know, if Tom can get that 5 seconds removed, and Adam can maybe push a bit more, my top 3 are actually coming to fruition, which is crazy to think, because they were nowhere through some of the safety cars. Tom's done a very good job of them hards, and definitely catching Jared. Just got to see if these mediums do hang on for these guys. We see another overtake. Kieran down the inside, but it's neck and neck. Oh, he's rammed him off.
Yeah, and his McLaren teammate now is going to go past him. Is also Louis Quinlan trying to be, well, it's actually side by side now. Remember, these two last week were fighting for the lead. They're fighting each other on track right now as well through turn 1, still side by side. The McLaren has to save his car a little bit, and the Mercedes is going to go right around the outside, so it is going to be Louis Quinlan also making up a place, as of course the McLaren was kind of pushed off the track, losing 2 more further positions unfortunately for him.
Yeah, a bit too aggressive from Sean. Just to share my light on that, I think Kieran was alongside him going into the chicane.
Paco Suarez with the fastest lap, just think.
Yeah, well, very good from
won't
Paco,
actually mean anything, he's in 14th, but
yeah, it's one for the fridge, a fridge magnet. the Japan Grand Prix fastest lap in F2. But yeah, Kieran, I thought he had it done, and Sean, in desperation, rammed him off the circuit. I think that will be looked at by the stewards as well. I thought Kieran was unfairly sort of punished for going for the move there by Sean. Maybe a bit frustrated how Adam got past him, and was maybe a bit too aggressive there. But we never know. It could see what people say. I'm not one to jump to conclusions. But yeah, Tom is who I'm trying to keep an eye on, as we do see an overtake for 12th and 13th. Oh, sorry, 12th and 11th.
Antonio ready making a move on Jose there, and he's going to be up into what is 11th. Is actually Jose's trying it down. No, he isn't. That's a bit of lag. Never mind.
Well, he got a penalty for it, so whether he intentionally meant to or he lagged over the curb, he did actually get he's going to go for it. Look at how much ERS he's using. He's got no way, you can't go there. That is, yeah.
I caught the end of that. From what I can see, there was maybe a front wing alongside it at best, and he was a little bit over optimistic, and that happened. Is that a fair way to sum it up?
Someone's lost it. Oh, it's the Racing Point. It's Adam. Not Adam. It's Andre. Oh, Andrew.
Adrian Lennon there.
Adrian. That's it. It was an A something. The Racing Point. He's down in 10th, and I think he's lost a bit of front wing as well. So that looks like his race is over from P4. So Adam's job is now Tom Jules. So Adam is on course for a podium. But who will he be taking it off? Will it be Jared Fosbury or will it be Tom Jules?
Yeah, Adrian Villarreal now has a penalty. He's, of course, leading the Grand Prix right now. It is going to be a 3-second. Jared Fosbury not actually in the window to benefit from that 3-second. But it is something to watch, because if there was a mistake from that Haas, maybe Jared Fosbury could get right up the back, maybe another late safety car or something to throw something in the works. But it is something to keep an eye on. It's a 3-second penalty for the leader.
Yeah, 3 seconds, and Jared, I think, has seen the 3 seconds, but Tom is in DRS range. So I think Tom could be the cork in the bottle as we see the Red Bulls battling. Oh, no, it isn't, sorry, that's the Racing Point pitting for its damage. So I'll carry on. Tom, I think, is going to be the cork in the bottle. Whoever is going to win this race is going to be up to Tom. Because if Tom battles Jared, he ain't going to bring that gap down, and Jared is creeping a bit further forward. I don't know if Sassy has any pace left in them mediums, but Jared is he's hovering over that sort of 4-second mark. Maybe if he can just extract a bit of pace, he could be on for the win. But if Jared starts battling with Tom, there's no chance, and he's going to be falls further and further behind. So I think it is in Tom's hands at this point.
Yeah, of course, that is all depending on whether that 5-second penalty is removed or not. If he didn't have that 5-second pen, maybe Tom Jules could make a move, maybe there'd be a little less fighting, those hards could really get switched on, because these hards are certainly quicker than the mediums at this point, as those mediums are very much coming to the end of their lifeline, or lifetime, I should say. So, yeah, of course there's also Adam Corrigan approaching these guys pretty quick, as he's still certainly got some life left in his tyres.
I'm going to have to interrupt you, because around the outside of the chicane, Kieran's going to go round Louis. Louis has to cut the corner and actually defends that brilliantly. And then he might actually attack the McLaren ahead, but we get a bit of lag, maybe a bit of oversteer from the Mercedes there. So Kieran's going to have to wait another lap on these soft tyres to get past people. And the more these soft tyres have more tyre wear, the less chance he's going to gain positions out of it. As another penalty for speeding in the pit lane for that man there. And he has been, and he's retired in the pit lane. So Jose the Haas has retired.
Indeed, yeah. Indeed he has. He was running 11th, I think, there. So it's not actually gonna... It's not like he was running in the points, but... It's not out of the question that someone else could have crashed or something and he could have got the point, but he's decided against it, obviously, and... Yeah.
I'm going to pick your brain here, Kevin. Can you imagine what Jared's saying to Tom at the moment? In this situation?
Maybe begging him to not fight too much. Maybe asking him to go ahead and pull him along. I mean, there's ways that Tom and Jared can kind of play this to play into both of their hands. If Tom Jules was the lead car, because he is the quicker car right now, you can tell. Like, he's now only 6 tenths behind as he's in DRS range. If Jared didn't put up too much of a fight, it would help Jared to close up, as Tom, of course, has that 5-second penalty as well. There's also the concept of maybe him getting that removed, which means Jared should fight him. But it's like, if on the off chance that penalty doesn't get removed, maybe if Jared fought him and ended up losing the battle anyway, it might be better for Jared to let him through, get in the DRS and try to get past at least his championship rival that way.
Well, I think for Tom, he's got nothing to lose. I think Tom, unfortunately, did pick up that penalty. I think just from my own experience, because I had a similar thing in my race, I don't think he'll be able to get it removed. So I think in Tom's case, he has nothing to lose and all to gain, and he's just got to go for it on Jared anyway. Jared, I thought, would catch Adrian out in front, but he's actually lost time. So Jared can't complain if Tom goes for an overtake because he was not catching him anyway. So, yeah, I think it's in Tom's hands, like I said earlier, and if Tom wants to go for it, I think he has every right to.
Yeah, see, doesn't seem to be really getting quite close enough to be able to go for a move at the moment. Of course, that can all change as he's still following in the DRS range. Jared has no reason really to let him through if he's not going to be close enough to be making a move at the moment, but that can all change. Actually, there's a little bit of a side-by-side moment. There's Sean O'Sullivan and Adrian Lennon. Of course, Adrian just pitted for a fresh set of softs now from that earlier incident. I'm pretty sure he had, I swear.
Yeah,
I
he
kind
had
of
an
forget.
incident and pitted for fresh softs.
Yeah. So yeah, he's on fresh softs now, and he's made the move on Sean O'Sullivan for 12th place, and now he can chase after that is Jaden Morris in 11th.
Yeah, just keeping on board with Tom. Tom is going to be the most interesting battle at this current stage in the race. As we look at penalties, Tom will be 4th, guaranteed, because Sean in 5th has 8 seconds worth of penalties, and Wagner behind has 11 seconds. So these guys are really going to start chopping and changing, but Tom is safe. So the only thing Tom needs to do is bridge a 5-second gap to Adam behind, or else Adam will get the podium. But it will be the final lap of the race, so Tom, I think, has just got to go for broke. He's got to deploy his ERS, try and get as close to Jared as possible, and just try and make a move, I think. If he can do it, if he can do it into turn 1. If he can't do it, sit behind and claim a P4 at worst. So, it's been a very good day at the office for these guys, and I'm really surprised that these mediums went to the end. But obviously, without that inconvenient VSC and safety car.
Sean and Alan Wagner going side by side through the final chicane. There's also Louis Quinlan trying to get involved in this as well, as they go side by side. A very, very lovely helicopter shot there as they battle approaching turn 1, as the McLaren does actually get past Sean, but Louis Quinlan now trying to look down the inside. It doesn't look like he was able to do it, as he actually goes a little bit off in turn 1, as maybe he clips the curb a little bit. Had to correct his car anyway, for sure, as Marcel certainly closes up a little bit more. Kieran Spears on those old softs, if you remember, it was an interesting strategy call. It really not worked, as those softs are certainly completely dead at this point, as 12 laps in the softs is pretty much the most you'd ever want to take them. So yeah, a little bit of battling there, and the McLaren is gonna take the 5th.
I'm not really too sure why they're battling. Louis is going to beat these guys anyway on penalties. The only person he's going to lose out to is Marcel, and I think maybe Kieran. So Marcel.
Tom Jewell is actually, I have to say, Tom Jewell is within a tenth of Jared Fosbury, and now he's right up the back of Jared Fosbury. It is actually the last lap now, so it's really between these two. If Tom Jewell gets rid of this 5-second penalties, he's going to be in the slipstream of Jared Fosbury. He's going to be looking to the inside for the final chicane. Jared Fosbury is going to squeeze him, as a little bit of contact there as well. Tom Jewell gets a little bit of damage going through the final chicane. There is going to be no move. Jared Fosbury is going to retain his P2, and he's going to cross the line in P2, and he's going to claim it. Tom Jewell is going to drop to 4th, so Adam Corrigan taking 3rd place on penalties. No penalties actually from Adam Corrigan or Jared Fosbury, so a great race run by both of them. Marcel is going to take the 5th, Kieran Spears is going to take 6th. Of course, he was the one who won last race. Louis Quinlan in 7th, with Sean 8th, Antonio Moretti, who started 2nd. I had him on a podium. Unfortunately, again, it doesn't quite go his way, but he does pick up a few more points, so it's something, I guess. And then Alan Wagner, of course, his 2nd race here in IRL, he's going to take his first points in IRL along with it.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't mention the race winner, who's crossed the line in 1st place and controlled the entire race, really. Even with the safety cars, he's been the fastest man out on track, the only man in to the 25s, I believe, in qualifying as well. So it's been a very, very impressive performance from the championship leader.
Yeah, it really has. Of course, he's going to extend now his championship lead by 7 points over Jared Fosbury as well. So it's it was 6, it's now 13. I totally didn't use my fingers to count that up.
I was going to say you have all the information, so I wouldn't know how to help you there. But my prediction nearly came true. If you swapped Jared and Tom around, which nearly happened at the end of the race there, obviously penalty involved, but it nearly did happen for them. But Adam as well, a P3 from 11th on the grid. Crazy scenes, absolutely crazy. I think the guys in the mediums obviously were helped by some inconvenient safety cars caused by reckless people being silly. But it's not their fault. They can only they've got the cards and they don't know how they're dealt. They've just got to deal with it. And it's been a fantastic performance from that man Sassy Pickle, who takes the win here in Japan. Fantastic from Jared as well. Held off every pressure he could from Tom Jaw behind. And then obviously Adam from nowhere, 11th on the grid, as you can see on the screen, only made one pit stop, no penalties as well. Drove a fantastic race. Probably wasn't the quickest driver out there, but P3 nonetheless. So well done to him.
Yeah, and picking up from there, of course, is Tom Jewell taking the 4th ahead of Marcel in 5th, Kieran Spears 6th, Louis Cunnan in 7th, Sean Mayer in 8th, Antonio Moretti an unfortunate 9th place as he did start 2nd on the grid, and also on Wagner starting 3rd down to 10th. And then it is Jaden Morris in 11th, Adrian Lennon in 12th, Sean O'Sullivan 13th, Paco unfortunate 14th, Jose in 15th was the DNF, Diego, Andy Crow also DNFing, well the rest DNFing, I didn't quite catch the rest.
Pretty smart as well. But I don't think we want to mention him anymore, we'll probably discuss it. It's for incidents, so because that was ridiculous from some guys. Ridiculous. Do you want me to start this off, or do you want you to start it off? I know we haven't got everybody in yet, but
well, I'll take the. Well,
I'm taking Adam.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that you can take Adam, since I mean you predicted him there, so yeah, I'll take the top 2 and then you can take Adam, because at least the top 2 were predictions for podium. I didn't quite get it the right way around, but there you go. Now they're all in, so I just need to be able to hear them all first of all.
Right.
Okay. So we'll get started then with Adrian. Just if we have him first of all.
Yes.
There we go. So obviously a few safety cars were certainly factors in the race. A bit of strategy there as well, staying out on pitting for mediums instead of hards at a point where maybe you'd be thinking hards would be better. Of course, a safety car after that would help those medium tire life to go to the end, and of course in the end they went fine and you took the race win, but kind of smooth sailing from the front it seemed for most of the race, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you. I actually don't think I won because I have a penalty from Baku. Just 10 seconds. So...
Oh shit, actually, yeah, well, excuse my language, but that is actually true. I kind of forgot about that. So you...
Get Tom in
he didn't actually win, but I mean, like, well, we have you here anyway, so that's... Okay, hang on, I'm just gonna get quickly...
No, I can add them. Can't I? While you talk.
Yeah, no, you can add. I'm just gonna try and see what would happen with the penalty then.
I think it ends up Jared wins, Tom P2 and me P3.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. I'm just trying to find.
But I got the 5 second as well, but I think I'm inside. So I was like 4.9 off Sassy at the end of the race. So I think it ends out at me being at 10th on the podium.
You guys with penalties. Yeah, just calculating a few things. It was a crazy race. Mark Evans sorts a few things out. Absolutely crazy.
Okay, so
Tom
10.
to the chat.
Yeah, plus 10 means. Okay, yeah. So everyone up to 4th. So actually, you finished 4th. My apologies there, Adrian, then. I mean, like, we'll still do an interview. Like, I have you here. Like, it's just unfair to invite you and then not do one. So, well, I guess it slightly changed then. Of course, you led most of the race, but the 10-second penalty from last week put you down to 4th. So, actually, you lose the championship lead in this instance. So, it actually does change a few things. So, I guess maybe not as happy with the result then.
No, of course not. I mean,
My apologies again.
Right. I literally did everything right except maybe get the 3-second time penalty, and then I lose the race because of with all due respect to the stewards, some BS penalty. So it's what it is.
Yeah, obviously, this does put you down to 2nd in the championship, with Jared, in this case, then taking the win. So, is there any different approach you might take to the next few races, maybe? Or do you think what you've been doing is fine and you'll be able to maybe take it back?
Well, I mean, I'll just try to stay away from everybody because, if I'm going to get sanctioned 10 seconds for a racing incident, it's kind of ridiculous. Other than that, though, I'm not going to do anything else.
Well, next race then, I guess, is, let me just make sure that I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Austria. If someone is able to clarify for that.
Yeah, it's Austria.
Yeah, well then, next race is Austria then, Adrian. So, do you usually go well around Austria? Do you think you could take a win there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be okay. I don't know. It's usually a good track for people with a controller, so yeah, I'll just try to do my best.
All right then. Maybe not just congratulations, but good luck for next week, I guess. Then.
Yeah, just quickly as well before we go, I just want to say, Adrian, I thought, even though you didn't win the race, because of penalties, I thought you were the quickest driver out there. Very impressive qualifying lap, only driver in the 25s. So very, 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 you should be very pleased with that. And you were the best driver out on track, and you did deserve the win out on track. It's just a shame about unfortunate penalties in other races, but very well driven, mate, and unlucky to not get the win.
Thank you.
Well then, I guess you can have Adam and Tom then, because I'm pretty sure you put both of them on the podium, and they're on the podium now. So, Jared, Jared. Then,
Excellent.
Of course, I did put you for 3rd. I did expect you to get a podium because you've done it in every race so far, and of course you've continued it on to this week. If you remember, the first, I think, 3 races were P2s. The 4th one was P3s, I should say. The 4th one was a P2. Now you have a win.
Well, it's just my skill and style, to have podiums every week, but
Shut up.
I'm happy. I'm over the moon, and people can keep saying it was a BS penalty, but you shouldn't take out drivers doing it, so, I can't fault Adrian. He was a quick guy on track, I will agree with Lodi on that. It was ridiculous how quick he was. I was burning rate to all my ERS just to try and stay within that gap. Then he got that penalty. I thought, well, my job's easy now. I just got to defend Tom. And then, it was magical. Finally a win, and it's took me in the lead championship. It's been a while since I've had a championship. Sassie's probably going to take it back quite easily though. But, no, great race. Tyres was brilliant, 60% on the end, and there was a bit of contact with Tom. But overall, I think it was a good race.
Yeah, of course. A lot of safety cars, as I said earlier. A lot of points where maybe you were thinking could go well, could go badly. Of course, when you put on the mediums, just a question, because at that point, me and Lordy thought maybe the hards would be better. Of course, you had another safety car later on to kind of help the mediums go to the end a little easier. But were you confident in the mediums going to the end when you put them on, or did you think, like, was there any thought in your mind about the hards?
To be honest, at first I thought the mediums would make it quite easily. That second safety car blessed my medium run, because if that second safety car didn't come out, I would have popped and gone into the wall. Yeah, I think the hard tyres would have been a better shout, as Tom was all over my rear end, left, right and centre, so...
Kinky.
He had some great pace in the yards, and you know, it was a good race with me and him having a fight. He could have won the race at one point, I could have won, and it was very close at the end. And no, I think hards should have been the tie to go on, but I risked it on mediums, and the safety car saved me. And yeah, I'm just happy I've got finally a win, some more confidence boost, and yeah, I'm just chuffed.
Well then, of course, maybe you'll be able to bring a bit of confidence into Austria. Are you confident for Austria? Do you think you can do well?
Well, considering I wasn't as quick today on the track with Japan with the self issues, Austria's next, so I don't know. Sassi may feel like he's strong, but I'm also strong as well. I haven't been beaten there, so you know, Austria's going to be my next win, hopefully. Or second or third, it just depends. But we have to wait and see how the weather is and how the race goes and everything like that. But hopefully it's a nice little fight with me and Adrian, and hopefully we can have a win which is not decided by pens this time, hopefully. But we'll just have to see what happens and hope for a great fight. But I'm looking for another podium.
Well then, congratulations on your win then, and good luck for next week.
Thank you.
And then it's Lordy, you have your two. Of course, you predicted both of these on the podium. They're on the podium. You're you know, rubbing your hands together. Go ahead.
Oh yes, I've been waiting for this moment.
That was
Tom,
Adam ahead of Tom.
You got...
But
oh wait, who's ahead of who?
Adam was ahead of Tom.
Okay,
on
so...
track, yeah,
For at least at the moment.
Who's finished second? Do you know?
That's Adam,
Me
then
in
Tom.
Second, but Adam
Isn't it?
Tom finishes
on track,
second.
Adam.
Tom
On
finishes
track,
second.
On track it's me, but I've got the 5 second.
Yeah,
from
there we go. So
last
Tom
race.
finishes second, so we'll start with Tom. Tom,
Oh my
first of all,
God.
well done. Well done in your
That's
second
just
place.
good.
Honestly, I thought Jared drove well, but I thought bar Adrian, you were the second best driver I watched out there today. Your strategy was immaculate. You kept yourself out of trouble apart from the collision at the end with Jared and that silly penalty you got on the safety car restart. But apart from that, I thought you were very unlucky. We had the third safety car and a VSC come out at the end of the race, and just to tell you the truth, not to annoy you guys or anything like that, people were binning it on purpose to make these safety cars come out. So if it weren't for them safety cars, you would have won the race, Tom. So not to put a damper on the win for Jared, but it was ridiculous, and we had it all recorded and everything. But just from your perspective, you weren't the fastest man out there. Adrian did have that, and Jared did have some good pace as well. But what's your perspective on the race, and how do you think it went?
Well, yeah, firstly, congratulations to Jared on the win, and same for Adrian. I mean, he drove a brilliant race. I mean, he was miles ahead of us. It's just unfortunate what happens on track and with the penalties and whatnot. But yeah, when I enjoyed the race, I felt like I had the pace, and especially before, I knew this was a stronger track of mine, and I could possibly fighting for the win, considering Adrian had a penalty. I bottled quality a bit. I was a bit of a shit lap, and then but yeah, I feel like I recovered well. I definitely thought the hards was the better choice. And then it was a pretty close battle with Jared at the end. So yeah, he fought well, and he deserves that win. But I'm happy with P2.
Yeah, I'm glad you got a podium at the end. Second question for you. Jared, it was your closest battle on the track and probably your most intense battle. Did you have the pace earlier in the race to get that move done? Because I noticed on the last lap you did go for it at the chicane, probably not the most optimal position to get past Jared. Or were you just hanging back because you had the penalty, or was Jared just had that pace over you, do you think?
Yeah, no, earlier I think when his tyres were fresher, I think he had the pace, but I was managing to keep up with him. I don't know, maybe because it's more of a track for wheel. But I knew I couldn't pass him until his tyres got a bit older. But yeah, I was managed to keep up with him and Storm before, and then my main idea was just to sort of wait until his tyres drop off a bit more. Obviously, they didn't drop off as much as I thought because of the safety cars and VSCs and whatnot. But no, I don't think I could have got him on pace earlier when his tyres were fresher. But yeah.
Okay, so final question for you, just Austria. As Kevin said earlier, it's the next race on the calendar. How do you feel around Austria? Is it a track you like? It's very high speed, short track. Is that your preference, or do you prefer something a bit more technical?
Yeah, no, I prefer something more like Japan with, like, bit more, like you say, a bit more technical. It's not one of my strongest tracks, Austria, but I'll be looking forward to it. Hopefully, I'm aiming for another podium, but I don't think I'll be on pace with Sassy or Jared next week, because I know it's a strong track for Jared, and well, Sassy's just rapid. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to being up there with Tim as well, hopefully, because I know Tim's quick around there. But yeah.
Well, like you said, you've said it yourself, you don't think you'll be on the pace, but you were on the pace today, so well done you P2. And I'm going to come to my final person. He's been waiting so patiently. It's Adam for P3. Are you there? You, my friend, I'm very impressed with.
I did the driving.
I called it from the start. I said, this man outsider, he's going to get it. He's P11 and he's going to get on the podium. I've got a feeling, I said. I've got a feeling. And lo and behold, you're here in the commentary box. First question, how do you feel your race went, personally? Because it was very, very congested and chaotic at times.
I mean, it's safe to say it went pretty well. P12 to P3. I'm pretty happy with that. Definitely, I didn't do enough practice. It's something that I said I'd do at the start of the season and then just kind of didn't. So I came into it, I think I said to a couple of people that I was going to be kind of just trying to get points, pretty much. And then as things started to play out, I guess I just kind of got a bit more accustomed to the track again and started to, make a couple of overtakes, got a couple of lucky safety cars, a couple of people spin off ahead, and I just kind of, I got the positions. And then at the end, it was getting pretty close on the penalties. I had Tim spectating. He was kind of, he's been a pretty good engineer, to be fair to him. He was giving me and Tom a bit of help and advice, so shout out to him. But I was just trying to build the gap to the people behind, because I knew in the back of my mind I had that 5 second, and it was just driving as hard as I possibly could to try and get the 5 seconds on the people behind, and luckily enough I got it. And it was a pretty good race, I can't complain. It was very good.
Yeah, like you say there, I thought you were growing into the race the more and more you were out there. Stop and start with all the safety cars. I just want to go through your, if you can remember, because there were so many of them, your best overtake. I think for me it has to be Sean, the Williams at turn 1, because you faked him going into turn 1, and then he like locked up or something, went a bit wide and went straight up the inside to turn 2. It was a brilliant move. But what was your best overtake? Do you agree with me, or is there another one?
I completely agree. I made a noise after that overtake that I think a couple of people heard. I think I squealed a little bit because it worked beautifully. I was chuffed.
Did you preempt the overtake? Did you predict it? A lap before? Were you thinking I'm going to get him into turn 1, or?
Nah, a lot of my driving is not planned. It's just kind of, I definitely decide I'm going to go for a move last second, just kind of on the spot. It's kind of that looks like a place I can put my car, let's do it and see what happens. And luckily enough it worked that time. I saw that he went out a bit wide, so I just kind of decided to send it, and it worked, so I was chuffed.
Well, I'm glad I caught it on my feed anyway. Last question, same to everybody else. Austria, next track, good, bad, medium, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I haven't driven Austria in a pretty long time. I've always been pretty comfortable through the middle sector, but I guess we'll see what happens. It's going to be a lot of penalties for me, I think. Turn 1 especially. I'll be going wide a fair bit.
Well, there's one thing for certain is you guys here deserve to be here, and congratulations to everybody on the podium, and unlucky to our first place man on track, but unfortunately finishes 4th today, and I'll pass you back to Kevin to finalise the race.
Yeah, of course, that has been IRL F2 here in Austria. Of course, a few penalties kind of mixing things up in the end that I kind of forgot about, so it was a little off in the interviews side of it and who actually won, but in the end it was definitely Jared Fosbury who won ahead of, at the moment, Tom Jewell and then Adam Corrigan, and Adrian, of course, dropping to 4th at the moment. That can all change, of course. There were some penalties that maybe could get removed, so there could be a little bit of a change, but that is how it stands right now. Of course, Austria is next week. Be sure to join us then, where I'm sure me and Lordy will be there bringing you more F2 action next week as well. So that has been IRL. Hopefully you join us next time, and goodbye.